Make Money Monday special edition. Zwai Bala, musician, founder of TKZee. But that's an awfully long time ago. It's been 21 years since TKZee burst onto the local music scene, 1997. And Zwai Bala today, more of a gospel performer, producer, solo career going on. He was the first black pupil to be admitted to the Drakensberg Boys Choir School. Musical talents were recognized, and he got into the Drakensberg Boys Choir. And he later got a master's certificate in orchestration for film and TV through Berkeley Music in Boston. And he joins us this evening. You were 11 in the 1980s when you first tried to get famous, and you entered the Shell Road to Fame. You got all the way to the semi-finals, which was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yes, I guess, there was quite something in the 80s. Trying to be like Michael Jackson was the only thing.
Was it the Road to Fame? Because there was quite a big gap between the Shell Road to Fame and, you launching TKZee. There was a decade. What happened in that decade?
Well, our Shell Road to Fame back then was our kind of idols. That was, there was the talent competition that was going on every year, and Shell would put in money into this talent search competition. It was quite something. I mean, even Rebecca, that's where she got her fame, because she won Shell Road to Fame in 1987.
Sure.
And that year I managed to get up to the finals with her. And I guess, for me, it was just being on the big stage, flying up to Johannesburg and performing, live television, the whole country watching me as the youngest finalist. And, Maralo, actually, that's where,
yes.
She was the judge, and good old Alex J.
Don't say good old. Don't say old.
Oh,
Alex
yeah.
J. No,
When I see Alex now, I'm like, dude, I remember you with long hair. You're like top shop pop vibes,
Yeah, Alex, he's still very cool. Alex is
no, he's cool. No, he's very coul. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was saying on, Donna was chatting to you the other day. I see Mara, I think at the Naledi's, and I'm like, Mara, I believe your book is doing really well. She says, you are in it.
As long as it's for all the good reasons. Not to say I don't know how that kid did so well. I really don't know.
No, it was really cool. So, I mean, the following year, 1988, at 13, there was an opportunity at production by Des and Dawn Lindbergh in Johannesburg, yes. And they were looking for a child star. Not a child star, just a singing kid who could be the son to Maralo, who was a lead character, and then Henry Kele, the guy who used to play Shaka Zulu.
Henry Kele,
So Mara said to them, I don't know how the conversation went, but I imagine it's something like, there's this kid that was at Shell Road to Fame last year. It's really cool, So they traced me down. I was already at the Drakensberg that year. And and then I, they brought me up to Johannesburg. I stayed in Houghton.
Darling.
Yes, overlooking Kilani and all those nice trees of Johannesburg. Yeah, and that was my first professional stage production, really, 1988.
And the bug bit?
Yeah, I mean, getting paid 500 Rand a week was
big bucks.
Rather okay.
I mean, what did that do to your school career? Did that harm your school career much? Because, I mean, even at the Drakensberg Boys Choir School, you had a very strict and rigorous academic regime.
Yes, it's interesting you asked that, Bruce, because I think the culture of the importance of learning for us, who did the whole Bantu education thing. I know a lot of people may agree with me. It was really about passing. They didn't really explain to you what this stuff really meant. It was about cramming, memorizing. I mean, we used to sing history notes and so on.
1 is 2.
Except 2 times 2 is 2 yo. 2 times 2 is 4 yo. And others don't say the answer. They like the other rhythmic part at the beginning.
Maybe that's where your music, that got your rhythms going, you see. And
so I guess for me it was really about becoming the star. And I remember some parents, white parents, of course, they would be like, so now school, you're going to have to catch up and stuff. Yeah, everyone is talking about this catching up thing. Me, I was like, yeah, whatever, So, I guess school-wise, that whole thing never did much for me, but I think already I was my mind was already set on what I wanted to do. It's just a pity that our education system, then and now, doesn't quite take care of, kids like us and your Tiger Woodses and,
No, but kids are shortchanged constantly throughout our history and continue to be shortchanged. Now, you were earning $500 a week as a professional on stage with Marlo and Henry Cele, Des and Dawn producing. What were you doing with that 500 Rand a week?
Well, sure. During that run, which was at Standard Bank Arena, my father passed away during the run. So my mom was reminding me a couple of years ago that, that I buried my father. So when he passed on, I kind of like took on the role of, taking care of the family. Everyone knows Loiso and Pelo, my brothers, and, who are kind of like, I helped my mom take care of, and I also have an older sister as well. So the responsibility for me kind of started then. Not that I knew much about money, but at least I knew I was making money. And
it was coming in.
It was coming in. Yeah, it was coming in. Yeah.
And there's no social network. I mean, the social grant system now is poor enough as it is, but back then it practically didn't exist. I mean, there was no fallback. Somebody had to make the money.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I mean, I remember my grandmother they were getting a half. I think it's a grant, but it wasn't much. But I mean, our grandparents would take care of the whole family of that thing. So, it was tough.
How old were you when your dad died?
I was 13.
13. I mean, that's a sharp growing up lesson. I mean, you're missing school to be this performer, and you're at the top of your game. You're having a blast. Everything's going away, and then tragedy strikes. Did it undermine your career at that point at all?
No, I think I was. I just always been a weird kid. Because I wasn't doing things that was existing. I mean, my own father was a great musician. I mean, like, not that I spent a lot of time with him, but people that know him, I remember coming across Smarts Ngonyama once, and he was meeting me and my brother for the first time during some holidays in PE. And we had never met him, but we've always known, hey, there's Smarts Ngonyama is also from Uitenhage, like hometown people, so we'd never met each other. And he stopped us at the mall and he said, boys, it's so nice to see you. Nati, like, yeah, Dad. And he's like, let me tell you one thing. You boys can sing, but you will never sing like your father.
Lovely.
So he had, I mean, a reputation as a great singer. And I know how, excited he was about music. But unfortunately, people like him could not make a living from what they were passionate about. So,
are there recordings of your dad or not?
Unfortunately not. I mean, there's hardly even pictures. We're just disadvantaged in many of those things. So what I mean, there's many of those people who just couldn't. You could either be a teacher, which was quite a bit of work, or any other professional like nurse and so on, or work at a bank. Otherwise, you just had to work at a factory. And us, who were close to the VW plant and other motor companies in the area. So I cannot imagine having to do that to earn a living instead of doing what I'm doing. So what I could see in my head was like being like Michael Jackson and which really was not reachable. People used to look at me and think I'm crazy, but what I was seeing was so different. I could see this dream and I just wanted it,
Did your sister go into music as well? Because it's unusual for one family to produce 3 musical stars. Did your sister also dabble in music?
Well, I think what many people don't know is that I actually started off singing with my sister. Because the age difference between me and her is closer than between me and Loiso, which is almost 5 years. And
you're like Janet and Michael. It was great.
Yeah, except that my sister would be Michael in this case.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what is my father, when my folks were still together before they first divorced, and then my dad passed away a few years later. By the way, he was only 39 when he passed on. Yeah. So, but when we're still, just us, I think when Loiso was really little, my dad had the Bala quartet. So he was on bass, my mom was on tenor because my voice hadn't broken. I was on alto, and my sister was on soprano. Even when we entered Sharo to fame in 1986, I was singing with my sister. So the first time I came to Johannesburg, first time on television, it was these 2 kids. They are these 2 kids. So by the time Loiso came through, he just came into a singing family, and then Pelo was the biggest surprise.
You made it easy for them, didn't you? You made them. You created them. You did it.
You tell them that.
Exactly. You did it all. My guest this evening is Zwai Bala, the co-founder of TKZee. I wanted to find out more about gospel music, of course, and the meanings of it all and what he's up to now. He's got a varied career in front of the camera. He does TV shows. He did Pop Stars East Africa as well. He would have learned a lot from that. But also we're going to find out, he used the money he was making with Des and Dawn Lindbergh, buried his dad, supported his family. At what point did the money become his own? We'll talk about that in just a second, and how he deals with that money coming from such big responsibility as a youngster. Zwai Bala, more from him in a moment. Zwai Bala, the co-founder of TKZee and general musician, lovely guy, is our Make Money Monday special edition guest this evening. At what point did your money become your own?
I guess when I had my first banking account, I guess.
Which was?
What do you mean, first of all, by my money becoming my own?
No, I mean, as a 13-year-old, you're sacrificing your money to help support the family and stuff. At what point, have you ever had your own money? It was always had responsibilities beyond yourself.
Man, to this day, there's this saying I heard from someone. They say, when you take responsible for someone, they will let you. So I guess, yeah, and also just the kind of person I am. There's always, when I'm making money, I'm not thinking about myself like, oh, cool, I can do this and that for so and so, I'm always dreaming about what I can do for, the greater part of my family. Also because I guess I started seeing the world from a really young age, traveling and doing all these things. I always just wanted my people to have that, so to see the same things as me, and experience the same and create opportunities. Like now I'm even thinking of, building schools and so on. So I guess, yeah, I'm just a very sharing person.
Well, when you say my people, how big is that sphere of my people?
People is the African people.
So big, my people. That's a lot of people.
I guess, but there are obviously dependents.
Sure.
Do we call it, black tax until, can all have our own homes and, as long as people are not quite getting the most out of circumstance,
No, but you feel that obligation very deeply, clearly.
Absolutely, yeah. That's me at heart.
And that's, that requires you to have a high degree of commercial success, because once you start helping out, you have almost a greater obligation to continue helping out, because you can't help out and then stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's been, I think if I look at it now, from, objectively, when I look at my life, even the biggest break, for TKZee was out of me seeing that in the other two guys, Tukolo and Kabelo. And, I was, when we started off with the group, we were at St. Stithians together, in the boarding house. So, but later on after school, I was like, no man, surely there's something we can do. But we used to hang together all the time. But I was teaching at Hoërskool Randburg and singing cover songs, down here where there's there at the beginning of Silent Hill, but before all that commotion was there, every Friday night, and I would get paid 400 Rand, and and this is basically how I kept us going, for us to get to that point where we released our first hit. So it's been a part of the success has come from that, because for me the value is not just in that tangible money or what you get paid or in that price. It's in the greater value, it's in the spin-offs.
But by having the ability to earn some money and keep the group together, because so many groups I think probably break up ahead of their time simply because they can't afford to do what they love anymore, and that is to produce the music, to be the artist.
Yeah, and for me, I guess where I used to spend my money, if there was money, then it's like, buy this piece of equipment. So it was always on stuff that I loved doing, which was going to bring back the cash anyway, for us to make more music, and then comes back in and we just carry on.
What do you spend your money on? Other than other people? What for you?
Other than
for you, what do you spend your money on?
Yeah, I think stuff that I really don't think about. It's now these days it's music software and little courses online, and I just love.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
Oh, okay.
What do you spend your money on? What do you invest on to grow your business and to grow your career?
No,
what do you waste money on?
Not as much as I used to waste money before. Really, I won't lie to you. I used to like buying my drinks, having a good time, throwing a party for it. And even if we're out, I'm the one that's going to pay for everyone. You know what I'm saying? It was on a good time. But these days, I don't know, just like, home improvement. There isn't much money to really, work around. I mean, splash around, these days. But otherwise, I like homely stuff and maybe a good meal. I won't think twice about going out and really having a proper good time or a good holiday.
No, but that's the luxury of doing well, is being able to make those kinds of choices. When you look at that free spending life, do you regret that free spending life? Do you wish that you got control of your money earlier?
I mean, sure, we got into trouble. I don't know if you know anything about
tell me.
TKZee. I mean, for me, and people maybe need to know this, especially guys that are still starting off in the industry. Yeah, I mean, it was big news in 2005, 2006 that the taxman came after TKZee as individuals. And with penalties and interest and so on, I alone was hit for close to 3 million. And when I look back, it's fine. And now when I look back, because you have to do all the accounting, and we're all charged with a civil case and a criminal case.
Oh my goodness!
So I had to now go back to all my transactions, all the accounts that I've had, and go through everything to try and prove to them, no, but not all the money that went through my accounts was just for me to spend, because I also spend it on stuff that is actually business. So I had to prove that by going through all the transactions. And when I looked there, I'm like, geez, but I was doing this. When I come across some transactions, like, but I was doing this, to try and help so and so, but you have to pay tax for it, So for me, it's like, now I'm very thorough. I know detail. Like, I know that I need to account for this. Like, I swear that experience for me was so good, because I know, like, when I spend money, I'm very clear about how to spend it, because at the end of the day, I need to account for it. And I know that if I don't have the supporting documents with it, I'm in more trouble. So I think that experience was a bit harsh, but it was a very, very good lesson. Probably the greatest lesson of my life.
Do you invest money? Or you're clearly very much back on your feet, and you've taken a new lease on life through your gospel music? And do you have excess cash to spend, to invest nowadays?
Not so much, honestly. Not so much excess cash. Not the kind of investment I think you're referring to.
No, but 10 rand into a unit trust once a month. I mean, not that kind of stuff.
No, I'll think about it though. 10 rand to unit trust. But
well, I mean, maybe a bit more, because that's going to cost you more. It's going to cost you more than that to transfer it out the bank to the unit trust company.
Yeah, no, not at the moment. But I'm quite clear about investments, and it's something that if I had the spare cash, but also going through a divorce right now, and it just takes a bit of a knock on your finances.
But I mean, and the divorce, the process of divorce is financially crippling as well. It can be.
This is the money show. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. So that's so things kind of like have to. In fact, I do. The only thing, I guess, one major thing is
that's why you're not telling me anything, just in case your ex's lawyer's listening and going, hey.
It doesn't help to be a nice guy there.
No.
Yeah, but I guess we are talking about money, so I don't have that spare cash.
Yeah, but and it is tough. I mean, it's about regrouping. I suppose you've regrouped before, and you've just got to get on.
But I must say, in all this, I'm enjoying growing, I'm enjoying learning things. I mean, I listen to your show almost religiously because, because that I like learning about how people make things happen and how they apply things, how they apply their minds into making dreams like mine happen and theirs, So
I'm going to stop talking now because you just said something nice, so I'm going to be all like warm and fuzzy. When you look at money, and do you feel that it'll always be there, that you've always got capacity to make it? Doesn't really matter what hits you from one side or another?
Yes, and that very point, Bruce, is something that I've always had, even as a kid. I've always been like, I've never been worried about money. It always felt like I'll always have. In fact, I have less money because I'm making decisions to not make money. I mean, it's easy to just do a house track or whatever, you know what I'm saying, like everyone, but I like the big dreams, you know what I'm saying, and being patient and making so that the impact of one thing is lasts me longer. So yeah, I guess my relationship with money has always been kind of healthy for me, personally.
And do you treat money seriously, or can you be quite lackadaisical?
I can be as a person. I can be, but I certainly do understand the value of money. I don't like getting into debt. I don't like being in trouble. I don't like taking advances against royalties and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather be I'd rather be clean,
But you've come to terms with adulting very well, it would seem.
Yes, I mean, like I say, I had to grow up very early in my life,
Yeah.
So yeah, and now with kids, you can't be like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? You need to think a bit ahead,
You certainly do.
Yeah.
Zwai, it's an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you so much for coming in and telling us your stories. I mean, what a fascinating set of stories you've told us, and some really important money lessons in there as well, and getting financial affairs in order, and ensuring the taxes are paid, and ensuring before you go and hand it all out to those that you want to help, that there are huge responsibilities that come with earning a living, particularly in the world of the arts. Zwai Bala, co-founder of TKZee, musician nowadays, and Zwai Bala, our guest on Make Money Mondays Personal Edition. Thanks for coming in.